Are your casting reels not casting very well anymore? Well, today we're going to talk about how to fix that. So if your casting reel isn't casting very well anymore, it's likely that the spool bearings that are holding up this spool, they may need a good cleaning. Over time, dirt and grime and all that stuff will get in there and they just won't perform like they should. So the first thing we need to do is get those bearings out of here. So with this Shimano Aldo bearing, I just have to take off the side plate here in order to gain access to one of the bearings, which is right here. And then the other one is going to be underneath this cap. So if I can, you move the handle around to get through that drag star, get that cap off to gain access to that bearing, better than having to disassemble the whole reel. So that's step number one, get those bearings out. One of the things you have to be careful of when you're taking these spool bearings out is there's a little clip in here, a little C clip, that basically is keeping this bearing from falling out. And so what I like to do is I look around the edges and find the opening in that C clip. And that's where it's basically going to fall out of here if you're not careful. So I'll find that opening and I'll put my thumb on one half, and the opening is here now, and I can go in on this other side and I can remove that C-clip like so, and then I can grab that without it shooting out and losing it somewhere. So after I get the bearings out, what I'll do is I'll take a little tool like this. This is a bearing check tool, and I will put these bearings on here and I'll try to spin them, and I'll see how well these bearings are actually spinning. And these ones, they are spinning, just not very well, so that tells me that they probably need to go through a cleaning before they'll start spinning like they normally should. If you don't have this tool, which most of you probably don't, you could probably find something like a little screwdriver that you could maybe put these over and spin them that way, or a toothpick or something like that. But yeah, try to find something that will fit through there, that will be reasonably tight, so they're not just spinning completely freely. That's why I really like this bearing check tool, because it's got all these different sizes on here. But yeah, you put your bearing in there and just basically you're checking the size. That's what this tool is actually for. But then, the added bonus is I can try to spin that and see how well these bearings are actually working. The Boca bearing is really nice because this orange shield basically just pops right off, and then you get access to the internals of your spool bearings. That might help a little bit, but don't worry if you just have regular stock bearings and you can't get the shield off. This process will work just the same. Okay, so the next thing I do is I get this little jar. This used to be baby food, just a little empty jar at this point, and I put my bearings in there. And the next thing that I use is acetone, which I bought from Walmart. And you're going to open that up and you're just going to put that into the jar and make sure that you cover the entire spool bearings when you dump this in here. Okay, at this point there's a few paths you could take. First, you could let these soak in the acetone, and if you're going to do the soaking method, I would probably let them soak overnight or for a good long while. But there is a way to speed up that process, and the first trick that I heard from somebody was to, at this point, if you have an electric razor of some sort, you could plug that in, take the razor, turn it on, and just set it next to the jar so that it's vibrating the jar. And that's going to basically speed up this process. You're trying to get out all that dirt and grime and gunk that's inside of these bearings. So soaking it will work, but if you could get some vibration included in here, then it'll speed up the process. The method that I use, which really makes it go really fast, is I have an ultrasonic cleaner, and basically it just vibrates, but I fill this up with a little bit of water. I have my bearings in here, and then I close that, and basically you just plug in the ultrasonic cleaner. Then you turn it on, and this one is set for 5 minutes, I believe. So after 5 minutes we'll come back and we'll see what the spool bearings look like. Okay, I've removed the bearings from the ultrasonic cleaner. Now we're going to go in and we're just going to get them out of this acetone. Okay, the next thing we got to do is basically dry these things off as best as we can, and then we'll check them to see how well they're spinning. Okay, so I got my bearing check tool out again. I'm going to put this bearing on here, and that is spinning so much better than it was before. It's unbelievable. Check out this other one. Again, spinning so much better. I wish I had timed this before I actually did this process. With this bearing specifically, I was spinning it and it would spin them probably 2 seconds. Check this out. And stop. So miles better. This is a Boca bearing, and that's kind of uh, that's the reputation they have. They're known for being really good bearings that spin really well, but you know, before the cleaning it was just a few seconds, and now you're talking, I don't even know how long that was, 15 seconds if not longer. So again, we basically cleaned out these bearings and they are working just like new. I think this is actually a stock bearing. This one is only spinning for a few seconds, but before it wasn't really even spinning at all. And that's okay, because this bearing specifically is more for support of the gear in the Aldebaran itself. And that's just the design of that reel. If you're using kind of a lower end typical style reel, it's going to have 2 of these traditional type of spool bearings in there, just like this one. That'll probably spin a lot better than that one will. So that's pretty much it, guys. At this point, you have one of 2 options. You can install these as is, or you can add a little bit of lubricant, which is what I like to do with some reel oil. And I'll just put just a little dab of reel oil in these, and then I'll install them back into the reel, and then you're good to go. It'll start casting so much better. One last little tip that I forgot: if you're casting and your reel is making a little bit of a squeaking noise, it's possible that it's the spool pin right here rubbing up against the handle cap, either here or in the actual inside of your actual side plate. So one last thing I'll do is I'll get just a dab of oil and I'll just touch it to that pad that's inside both of those areas, and that should make that squeaking noise go away. That's it for today's video. I want to thank you all for watching. If you like this video, if you learned something from it, please help me out grow the channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, we'll catch you later.